Welcome to Tasmania's East Coast, home to a veritable smorgasbord of fresh seafood and award-winning wines, right at your fingertips.
Yeah, and the oysters are pretty fresh around here.
And the lobster's not too bad either.
One Trevella, please.
No worries. I'll just take the hook out first.
Can I order a tray of fresh scallops, please?
Sure, no worries. Hey, Sam, pass the scallops. Just next to the bucket of fresh abalone, near the bin of oysters, above that basket of rock lobster, below the fresh mussels.
Or if you fancy yourself as a chef, take a cooking class at Kiss a Fish. There you'll pick up some great seafood preparation techniques. And naturally, the best part will be eating while taking in the beautiful Binalong Bay vistas.
Of course, you've got to wash it all down with something special, and you can't go wrong with this little Pinot.
Or this little sparkling.
So pop on over. You might even learn something.
Drop by for lunch, meet Bruce the Goose. He goes well with our Pinot.
What are you waiting for? An invitation?
When I arrived in Tasmania, I was shocked, really, at just how stunning it is. It's the most beautiful place. When it comes to the people and the produce, there really isn't a lot that's finer. It's the most delicious, beautiful island. Everything is just so seasonal, so fresh, and it just tastes so different. Everything sold here is made, grown, raised right here. You know, the chicken tastes like real chicken. It's something really quite special. The best thing about the market is the combination of everything. The people, the amazing food, the farmers. It's such a lovely environment. We've got a generation of children growing up with rainbow carrots and funny coloured tomatoes and pointy broccoli and all of those things. You're only one or two people removed from the agriculture, so it actually really matters to a lot of local people as well. And then it's fun. It's far more fun than going to the supermarket. It's a springboard to everywhere. So you start off at the harvest market and then, you know, it's literally the world is your oyster. Everywhere is available from here. My name's Curly Haslam-Coates. I am the manager of the Launceston Harvest Market and I love everything edible.
I'm John Bennett.
And I'm Michael Bennett. We live in a little place called Elizabethtown, which is in the central north of Tasmania.
And Michael and I were both brought up on this farm here.
The dairying had always been part and parcel of the farm. We thought that if we could value add and had a finished product to sell, that we would have a lot more opportunities. That's when Ashgrove Cheese was established. Our bank employed some experts to see what was the best style for us to make. They came back and said there wasn't a market for the particular types of cheese that we had some expertise in. The fact was we made what local people would eat or like, and we never made the other cheese that the specialists said we should make.
I guess the reality is we're recognised as a maker of premium cheese in the Australian scene, which is important.
What we do is predominantly English-style cheeses. We've always been probably a little more generous than some people with cheese tastings. But when we first opened the shop, we thought it's very important to be able to taste the product and taste it freely.
So the philosophy was simply to provide access for the population to try our cheese. And it was simply, try our cheese, you might like it.
We had mobs of crows that were falling out of the sky, not burnt, just run out of oxygen.
Then there was these little columns of acrid black smoke, and I said, yeah, that's houses now.
My name's Tom Gray. I've been selling oysters for 17 years now. Oysters are filter feeders, so they need a fast-flowing, good, clean water, and Tasmania certainly provides that.
My name is Matt Dunbevan. Bangor's been in our family since the late 1800s. About 10 years ago, we put the vineyard in, and the plan was always to sell direct to our customers.
We'd been through this very challenging natural disaster, and it was only a matter of
2 weeks.
2 weeks after the fires, when Matt realised that the building that he was possibly going to put his cellar door in disappeared in all of 30 seconds.
So when we lost the shed, we had to make a decision about what we were going to do.
And Matt came up with the idea that we could probably join forces.
So we decided we'd rebuild what became the wine and oyster shed. So I don't think there's many places you go as a tourist where you'll know that you're meeting the person whose product you're consuming, and being able to see the vineyard out the front and, where are the oysters from? Look out that window, and that's amazing to most people.
Really a magical feeling to come out onto that pristine white beach. The colours were just spectacular.
And there's just this purity about it. It's untouched, there are no houses, no one else is on it. It's just this perfection.
I guess what sets the Bay of Fires walk apart is that with each group that comes out, we have 2 experienced guides who provide interpretation along the way. So they'll give you information about the history, the natural history, and it really brings the Bay of Fires alive.
I would have to say that the quality of the guiding was one of the things that was a real thrill and not necessarily expected, really special. And I think as someone who's been on lots of tours in lots of places in the world, not one you'd find elsewhere.
I think the chance to share a really beautiful place with such a variety of guests is a really amazing thing. To be amazed every time I come out here at the beauty of it, and to see the reaction of the guests as they see it for the first time is quite a special thing.
You've walked for, most of the day. You haven't seen any other people, and then all of a sudden you come to this beautiful little camp in the middle of nowhere, your own little area to sleep in, beautiful table for you to all dine around, this fantastic social environment.
Walking along deserted beaches, and then suddenly you just get this tiny little glimpse of a veranda sticking out from the trees on top of a hill. You walk up through the bushes, up some steps, and there's this gorgeous lodge.
There's so many things that are special about the lodge here, but I think one of the main things is the location. Our guests have walked over 20 k's to arrive here, and when they do, they get this amazing view that's only ours.
You can hear the waves crashing in. There's beautiful facilities in the lodge, plenty of areas for you to lounge outside and inside, comfy couches, there's an open fire.
It really is a truly unique experience in that we're the only company in the area providing this type of accommodation, and when you look out, all you've got is a beautiful environment to look at, and no other buildings or a soul in sight.
These meals that seem to be so simple to produce and so little fuss, they were spectacular, just wonderful food.
One of the keys to that is the wonderful fresh produce that we're provided with, and most of it locally sourced, so we're lucky that we have great produce to work with.
Welcome to Binnalong Bay on the east coast of Tasmania. The best way to find out about the hidden gems in this local area is from the locals.
The big beaches are just crystal white sand, and you can just walk along them at your own pace, and there's plenty of room. But this is just paradise. It is paradise in Tasmania. It's a very nice lifestyle.
We're in one just now. This is one of the very quiet, out-of-the-way beaches that you can come to, potter around in the rock pools or snorkel out here. So it's a fantastic spot and it's quiet. As you can see today, there's hardly a footprint here, probably just our own.
The sheer beauty, the blue turquoise water, looking around the rock pools. I take the grandchildren, we find starfish and crabs. It's different every day.
There's always something to see. Dolphins come around here, whales. It's just magic. Most mornings I have the beach to myself. Even though it's rated as one of the best beaches in the world, if you're early enough, you're the only one here. It's amazing.
For me, I love nature and I love to see the wild orchids sprout through the ground. I just love that. I love the birds. The bird life is beautiful.
The diving here is spectacular. Fortunately, it's all year round, so that's what keeps me here. It's the scuba diving just behind me.
So tell us about this picnic table. Legend has it locals stole it and put it on the rocky outcrop.
Well, that might be true, but the picnic table I found in the bramble bushes. It only had 3 legs and one plank to sit on. So Colin and I and one of the neighbours sorted it up and put it on the rock.
All of a sudden, it appeared. That's all I know and that's all I'm telling.
We often go there for an evening meal or just a few drinks on the rocks. It's absolutely beautiful.
It's a great place to watch the sunset. Yeah, it's in a great spot.
There's a group of us that frequent the picnic table quite regularly and have a nice few Sunday afternoons down there and just reminisce and look at the water, and if you're lucky enough you can be sitting there and dolphins or occasionally a whale will go past.
And it's just a lovely place just to sit down and enjoy the evening and nature. Beautiful.
I think everyone's pretty glad Colin and Mari found that old picnic table that day. So please come on down, bring a picnic basket and enjoy the view. There's a seat waiting for you.
There's a place at the edge of a magical island. A place with room to move, where you can feel the world beneath your feet. And even the rocks are works of art. It's a place where nature is at your door, where freedom comes naturally, where fresh takes on a whole new meaning, and the ocean comes served in a glass. This place is Freycinet Lodge, the only place that puts you right in the heart of the Freycinet National Park, where you can settle in, explore, reconnect, and unwind. Sometimes it's as if you have the whole place to yourself. The view's yours for the taking. Where the friendly locals make you feel right at home, and even time slows down to breathe in the moment. So as couples, or as friends, you're going to want to stay a while. There really is nowhere else like it. Freycinet Lodge is waiting for you. So what are you waiting for?
I've travelled a fair bit around the world and there's nowhere that I'd sooner be than Morbana.
We grew up next door to each other, and sort of one of my youngest memories that I can remember is Robbie's father coming in with the candied honey and up to our place and having that as I was a young child.
She travelled the world for 17 or 18 years looking for a bloke and couldn't find anything better, so she came back to Morbana and married me. That was desperation. Blue Hills Honey was established about 1955. My father was a timber worker and he took a liking to bees and got a few hives, and I reckon if I could have $1 for every sting I've had, I could probably retire.
You can't do this work with just one of you. It's got to be a good team. And we're just lucky to be in a really good place to do that. The farm shop that we have is open to visitors. They get to experience the region around here and nature at its best.
Now, the Tarkine is Australia's largest temperate rainforest and the only place where leatherwood honey is harvested from. And our unique honey is one of the things that people come to taste.
It's quite a special environment. It just looks absolutely wonderful. It's white flowers. It looks like a field of roses, and you get that smell when you go into the bush. My name's Nicola Charles. My job description is whatever Robbie doesn't want to do.
I'm Robbie Charles, just about a third generation beekeeper. The city's a city wherever you go in the world. Country's different wherever you go in the world.
Well, my parents couldn't stop me. I was just always bush. I'd walk up in here with a pocket knife, a bit of catgut and a few hooks and pretty much live off the land. But they couldn't really get their head around that, so they just let me go. My name is Craig Bushy Williams. Yeah, I've always been out in the bush. Been hunting with my father and my grandfather and great uncles and snaring and trapping as a kid growing up. And I just bring people into my life and show them what's inside my mind and how I grew up. You can imagine people coming from overseas in built-up cities to actually come out here and walking past wombats and wallabies in the wild, and they just are blown away by the sheer space and the tranquility. Nothing here but us. We duck into the bush supermarket, so there's tons of things there you can eat. We generally start off with a cheese splatter, so clients have a stroll in. Of course, there's a matching wine to go with that. Then we get into a few campfire canapes and just a few of my bush recipes. Then we do some little wallaby patties with different sauces. Then we get into some sassafras salmon that we've picked the leaves on the way through. And of course, sweets after that. It just takes their taste buds to a different level. Here on any given time, you can see in between 10 or 12 species in a night, and probably without putting a glass of wine down. Animals put on their own wildlife show. We just sit back and watch. I've seen some fantastic places across the world, met some amazing people, but I've never found anywhere that comes anywhere near Tasmania. So you just want to get back home again.
Nestled at the junction of the Tasman and Esk highways on the east coast of Tasmania, beneath the impressive rocky outcrop of St Patrick's Head, is where you'll find the small township of St Mary's. It's also where you'll find a very special and unique individual. This is Ian Summers. Ian collects things, all types of things. In fact, he's collected so many things over the years. He's created a museum in St Mary's. Not just any museum. It's called Cranks and Tinkerers. If you're coming to St Mary's, and you really should, come say g'day to Ian and have a look around the place. It's unlike anything you've ever seen before. And if you're really lucky, Ian might even play for you. Trust us, he plays a pretty mean banjo.
My name is Greg Irons. I'm the director of Bonorong Wildlife Sanctuary in Brighton in Tasmania. We run a 24-hour rescue service. It's statewide, and it's the only rescue service of any decent size in the state. I think my love for animals is just something that I was born with. I remember my birthday, we had a budget. Ours was $50 for the whole family, so I dragged them all out to Bonorong. I was 7 years old at the time, and I told my mum shortly after that I'd own Bonorong one day. It's funny how the world works out. I think subconsciously I always knew Bonorong could be a vehicle to achieve so many fantastic things. Our rescue service rescues around 7,000 to 8,000 animals a year, and that is growing every single year. There is one thing that I think we all consider at Bonorong is the fuel for our fire every single day, and that's releasing an animal back to its natural habitat. To see them just go waddling off to where they belong with this feeling of happiness, which they cannot hide, it is just so special. Our animals are really comfortable with people. Hand-feeding animals, being able to pat orphan wombats, see Tassie devils being fed less than a metre away from your face is an experience that you're just not going to get anywhere but Tasmania.
We feel alive in the light, feel alive in the summertime.
The Bruny Island Traveller includes 7 amazing courses for the full-day tour out of Hobart. It's really important to really focus on people, place and produce. The people that we meet are the makers. The place is Bruny Island, a wonderful place, and the produce is fantastic. World class, many international awards for the people that we visit during the day. Once we come across on the Bruny Island ferry, it's like stepping back in time. That's when the story really begins. The first stop that we do is Bruny Island cheese. There we meet the makers.
I'm going to run through 4 of our favourite cheeses with you. First cheese we are going to try today is called Tom. As I said before, the Saint was a white mould. This is a wash rind.
We sit down, we relax for quite a bit of time and really enjoy the produce that they do. Then we go to get shucked oysters, and that's where we learn about growing oysters on Bruny Island.
Welcome to Get Shucked. These are Pacific oysters that we serve here.
We're going to actually shuck the oysters in front of our guests, guaranteed to at least have 6 oysters per person. Bruny Island is really rich in history. One of the short walks we do is Two Tree Point. That's where Captain Cook filled up the water on Endeavour. We're really lucky to have a world-famous white wallaby on Bruny Island. It is the only place in the world where we have a wild population of white Bennett's wallaby, and today we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white wallabies in one go. Not bad. For lunch, we go to the southernmost vineyard in Australia. It's Bruny Island Premium Wines. Not only do we see where this beautiful drop to drink is grown, but we also have a lot of local produce that's made to become a beautiful, beautiful lunch. After lunch, just when you think you can't fit any more in, we visit the Bruny Island Chocolate Company because everyone loves a sweet treat. Next producer we meet on this journey is the Bruny Island Honey Company, where you indulge in a selection of locally sourced Manuka, blue gum and prickly boxed honey that is sold throughout the world. For us, it's really important when our guests come along on the Bruny Island Traveller that they can leave their wallet in their pocket. Everything is inclusive, so if they do buy anything, it's something that they like to take home afterwards. On the way back to the ferry, we stop at the Neck. For those people who want, we get down on the beach and have a beautiful beach walk. You get sand between your toes. For those people who want to get their knees wet or more, they're very welcome. And for those people that that's not for, you can sit on these beautiful steps looking out over the ocean, a fantastic view. Tasmania is famous for its whisky. It's won a couple of international awards. It's making the Scots wonder what's so good about Tasmania. So what better way to finish the day than a nip on us at the Bruny Island House of Whisky. It's a place where you really are lost in time. We think it's open to everybody, and Bruny Island is something everyone would love to see. Bruny Island cruises, we take you up to some of the highest sea cliffs in the southern hemisphere. We take you into caves, up against a beautiful blowhole. We stop, start quality interpretation. We see a lot of the locals. We see a lot of seals, dolphins and in-season whales. So these are Australian fur seals, guys. Have you ever seen anything make rocks look comfortable before? 95% of these seals are male and the other 5% are lucky. They eat fish and squid mainly, and we almost know them all by name. Bruny Bruny Island Cruises started in 1999. I started with a little 12-seat, 28-foot boat, and it makes me laugh now, but in good weather, I used to chase after rent-a-cars and go to all the caravan parks to say, have I got a deal for you to try and fill 12 seats up? And we're lucky today that we've got a couple of great black cormorants, but check this cave out. We call it the Keyhole Cave. Let's give it a whirl and see if we're the right key today. Custom-made yellow boats are a very important part of the tour. Even though they look like they're fast and thrills, we're into environment, we're into sustainability, but the shape of the hull gives a very smooth ride. It's important for us to keep people as warm as we can out there. We supply beanies and gloves on the colder days. The red jackets keep the wind out, and if there's a little bit of water around, keeps that as well. And if you're still cold after that, all of our staff are fully qualified in the gentle art of an extremely good cuddle. We love everybody. We take our youngest so far has been 2 weeks old. Our oldest is 96 and a half.
Compare the full range at discoveraustralia.com.
Tasmanian devil is the iconic animal. They only exist in Tasmania, and we need to do everything we can to save them. My name is Simon Plowright. I came to Australia in 1981. When I got here the very first night, I remember lying in bed hearing devils making their usual screaming, arguing noise in the forest. At that stage, I just had to go and try and find them. Watching devils it's always different. I've spent thousands of hours over the years watching devils. I'd always taken people out to the forest to film devils. The disease first appeared around about 95. For me, Devils in the Dark, it's vitally important that we are contributing in some way to saving the Tasmanian devil. We've been running it now only for 6 months. I've been really, really chuffed to bits by it, because for me, the joy of seeing people coming out of something like that and going, wow, you know, I never knew devils did this sort of stuff. They're experiencing a little bit of what I've experienced all those years in the forest. When I took these really, really specialized group who had been to Antarctica, they'd been to several countries in Africa, they'd done all these best things, you know, and they all said to me, this is as good as anything we've ever seen in the world.
I'm Matthew Evans, the gourmet farmer. Poe's come back to our island state in search of inspiration for new recipes. So we've hit the road to meet the makers and reveal how they do things Tassie style. To round off our trip, I've brought Poe to Fat Pig Farm in the Huon Valley to introduce her to Sadie and show her what we do here.
I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this for so long.
Before we catch up with Sadie in the garden, I have to show Poe our new piglets. This is Audrey. She's our oldest sow.
Oh my gosh, the babies are ridiculous.
Aren't they so cute? They're 4 weeks old. When you measure pig farms, you measure them in terms of number of sows. So Australia's biggest pig farm has 45,000 sows, and we've got Audrey and Jackie and Avita. And Barry.
And Barry.
You need a Barry.
Barry White, Barry.
Yeah. Sadie is stoked to meet you. She can't believe you actually made it to the farm.
Yeah.
You're going to head round here to the garden.
Sadie! Oh, so good to finally meet you.
Where's my hug? After a few days on the road together, I left Poe and Sadie to get to know each other and harvest some ingredients while I get started in the restaurant.
This is one of my favourite things about winter is the leeks.
Leeks. I can spot a really fat one.
This is the kind of experience that we want people to have in our cooking classes, that they get to come out to the garden and actually harvest the food that they're going to use.
Are you amazed at how many people just get the biggest kick out of it that have never done it before in their lives?
Yeah.
I think the biggest revelation that people would have here is how amazing everything tastes, because it's been grown to be picked and eaten right away, not for travel.
Can't wait to taste what you're going to cook.
Oh, I'm excited. Garden's so beautiful.
It's all right at this time of year, eh?
Yeah.
Ooh, look at your harvest.
Yes. What are you cooking?
Well, I wasn't sure what you're going to harvest, so I just went meats. So I'm going to give you a taste of salami, prosciutto, and some brisket and pork.
All my favourite things. So I was just going to do a little pickle with those and the chilies, maybe some of that Mexican tarragon I've got somewhere. That is stunning. Sadie was telling me about the winter cooking classes.
I guess what we're about is knowing where your food comes from and knowing the seasons. We grow it, you come and pick it, help harvest, then come and cook it in the kitchen, and then we serve it, and we serve, it's like a hour and a half, 2 hour lunch, a big feast at the end of the cooking class. Winter is actually really, abundant and verdant in the garden. As a cook, it's the best season. You're not going to make the perfect peach better, but a cook can deal with potatoes, with turnips, with Swedes, with broccoli and broccoli rabe and stuff. It's already good, but we can transform it using fire into something amazing.
Why did you guys choose this area?
I wanted to grow things. I wanted to move somewhere with good rainfall, good people, fertile soil, and a culture of knowing how to rear and grow things for the table. And this place had it all.
In terms of the food philosophy, did you have your little manifesto written in your head, or did you have to kind of find your way, feel your way?
It was never our intention to run a restaurant. We were like, oh my God, have you tasted an apple straight from a tree? Have you tasted a carrot straight from the ground? And if you haven't, how do you do that? And I thought, well, we're in a very privileged position to be able to offer that to people when they come to have lunch with us. We fill this table with 40 or so people who get to taste this part of Australia on this day of this year. You've done the tour of Tassie in the northwest, the Tamar Valley, Derwent Valley, Huon Valley, all the valleys.
All the valleys.
I'm so glad you came in winter because you actually get to see it at its best. To me, it's at its best. We do seasons better than anyone in Australia, and we do winter better than anywhere in the world.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm definitely coming back to cook a long table lunch.
You're on. I'm going to hold you to that.
Welcome to Evandale in the north of Tasmania, just 18 kilometres south of Launceston. Evandale is a National Trust classified Georgian village. It's like stepping back in time when you visit places like the two St Andrew's churches, one Anglican and one Uniting, the Royal Oak Hotel, Clarendon Arms Hotel, Fallgrove, built in 1826, Ingleside Cafe, and Evandale Antiques. For something saucy, check out the Tasmanian Gourmet Sauce Company, where you can see all types of sauces being made. You can even taste them. Cheers, don't mind if I do. And one of our most famous buildings and Australia's greatest colonial house is Clarendon. This place is so great, it's even home to the Australian Fly Fishing Museum. If you're here on a Sunday, Evandale has a market. It's where you can spend hours going through new things, old things, fresh things, almost anything. Oh! But what makes Evandale really famous? The National Penny Farthing Championships. Every February, people from all around the world come down, and you don't need to be on your bike to be having a good time. So that's Evandale done quickly on a penny. Trust me, it's even better for real.
Tasmania, Australia's island state, is 200 kilometres below the southeastern tip of the mainland. This journey begins on the isolated west coast of this amazing island on the world-famous Gordon River. This is a journey which may well change the way you view the planet. It's a journey about then and now. Leaving from the fishing village of Strawn, which is situated on Macquarie Harbour, the gentle face of the town today belies its rugged and harsh past. Once, Macquarie Harbour and its surrounds were home to the Mimigan band of the southwest tribe of Tasmanian Aborigines. Today, it's best known as the starting point of an adventure into a land that has survived since ancient times. This World Heritage Area remains unrivalled in our world today. The Mimigan people had a spiritual and emotional connection to the land they roamed, a connection that many visitors today also experience. This is Tasmania's Wild West, where cool fresh air blows in from the Southern Ocean. Much of Tasmania is declared National Park. The Franklin-Gordon Rivers National Park boasts irreplaceable cultural, natural and historical features that have inspired generations. It's one of only 3 remaining temperate wilderness areas in the Southern Hemisphere. The Franklin River was all but lost to future generations when the Tasmanian government proposed to dam the river to generate hydroelectric power. This was 1979 and the scene of one of Australia's most fascinating and hard-fought conservation battles. It was a win of international significance for the conservation movement. It is now clear to all why they fought so hard to save this natural wonder. From the luxurious comfort of the Lady Jane Franklin II, it's hard to grasp just how big Macquarie Harbour really is. It's more than 110 square miles of natural protected water. The Gordon is a deep river which pours more water into the sea than any other river in Tasmania, largely snowmelt, all meeting where the rushing tides and water flows to join at Hell's Gates. This is the narrow entrance to the harbour, which has claimed many vessels over the years and was named by convicts as they were transported into their hell, Sarah Island. Today, Hell's Gates is well signposted with lighthouses and a seawall, making passing through the gates less treacherous than in the early days. Sarah Island was one of the harshest penal colonies in Australia. There's a definite sense of being transported back to a time and place that was the most feared convict settlement of all.
Now, I don't know what you actually expect to find here, but you probably won't. Don't expect to find any large imposing structures like you do down at Port Arthur. However, there is a large building up there on the promontory. Now, that's the penitentiary, but it doesn't mean a jail. It's actually a dormitory set up as a slave labour camp to harvest yew and pine from up the Gordon River, but it's also an experiment in what we now term zero tolerance. And if you scruffy idle lot don't knuckle under and behave, this is where you'll get sent. It is a terrible landscape. Escape is impossible. While you're here, you'll be worked incessantly, disciplined severely, deprived of all comfort and indulgence, no tea, no sugar, no rum, no tobacco. You're also out of mobile phone range. You can forget your text messages.
The west coast of Tasmania is world famous for its maritime history. 117 boats were built on Sarah Island by convict labour.
Okay, they march the men around from the penitentiary around to the shoreline here every morning. The commandant, he had a day off. It's up there on a mezzanine level. He probably spent an hour there in the morning, then he'd be off fishing or something like that. The stones here, they formed a pulpit from where he would issue all the orders and also the disciplines. The commandant here, his name was Lieutenant Cuthbertson, described by his friends and admirers as nothing more than a sadistic bully. He was supposed to have drowned, accidentally. No, what happened was his boat out here, it slipped its tether, he swam out to retrieve it, got into trouble, started to drown, waved to the men on shore for help. And they all waved back at him.
This This region was also home to hardy piners, who came to cut the Huon pine so treasured by boat builders. At Heritage Landing, a boardwalk winds through ancient rainforests past Huon pines more than 2,000 years old. The Lady Jane Franklin II offers first-class service, superb local food and wine, and a crew that engage in lively storytelling, bringing to life the history and global importance of this mystical place. At its peak, Strahan was the second busiest port in Tasmania and a thriving fishing village. Today, this cruise passes some of Tasmania's world-renowned fish farms, home to thousands of Atlantic salmon and rainbow trout. This journey is a story of then and now. And in many ways, not a lot has changed from ancient times. The layered history of the Gordon River spans thousands of years. Temperate rainforest meets the river's edge. The trees, when reaching the dark tannin-stained water, form almost perfect reflections. This is a place where so much remains untouched. There's a sense of wildness, isolation, and time.
At the end of this winding road lies a place to be savoured. A coastal eco-lodge in Oceanía National Park. A place for you to connect. From the moment you step into this coastal bushland escape, you're at one with the wild, with every moment an ever-changing symphony for the senses. Our rooms have been crafted to capture the natural simplicity of the wilderness. From a retreat nestled in the bush to views of the peaks and natural grounded elegance. And while it's tempting to never leave your room, Oceanía National Park should not be missed. With its beauty and evolving, breathtaking spectacle, it rolls into the shores of secluded beaches, it stands mighty as ancient granite mountains and squeaks under your feet as soft sand. This is a place where you escape the everyday and there's time to reconnect with those who matter. After a day of exploring, settle in for one of the most remarkable sunsets you'll ever see. And relax long into the night in the warmth and comfort of the lodge. Then, because this is a place too magnificent to be seen in a single day, wake up and keep exploring the beauty of Freycinet.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Deneen, Chief Winemaker here at Joseph Cromie. Come through and I'll show you around. Joseph Cromie arrived in Tasmania in 1950 as a penniless Czech refugee, and he actually made his first fortune in the meat industry before branching out into wine in the early 1990s. And since then he's owned and developed some of Tasmania's most famous vineyards, including Heemskirk, Jantz and Tamar Ridge, before in 2003 purchasing this property, which is now Joseph Cromie Wines. Here we grow Pinot Noir, Chardonnay for both table wine and sparkling, and we also grow smaller amounts of Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Gris and Riesling. And from most Tasmanian Pinots, you should see a lovely, bright, vibrant red fruit characteristic, but complexed with these beautiful savoury characters, some nice fine-grained tannins which give you a soft, velvety feel in the mouth. How about to accompany our premium Tasmanian Pinot, some artisan Tasmanian cheeses, and I know just the thing to serve this with, a beautiful handcrafted Tasmanian cheese knife. Follow me, we'll go grab one.
I design and make jewellery and small tableware objects that I think are functional and beautiful to use. This is my Glide Gourmet knife. It's made of stainless steel and it balances so it doesn't tip out when you use it. This is where I make my jewellery. I normally start off with just a plain piece of sterling silver sheet. This is my gourmet time cooled peck, inspired by the Tasmanian honey eater.
And check out this for a cheese knife. Almost too good to use, isn't it? And again,
My name is Shirley Rankin and I'm one of the owners of Lowhead Penguin Tours. In 1995, when the Iron Barren ran aground, I was one of the people that caught oil birds.
Salvage crews have been working day and night to repair damage to the Iron Barren, which ran aground on Hebe Reef on Monday night. The biggest problem remains the wildlife. Teams have found a further 2,000 birds covered in oil. Most are fairy penguins.
We took them back to the pilot station where they were washed in sunlight dishwashing detergent, and once they were washed and they got all the oils off, they had to be force-fed. In 1996 we started the Lowhead Penguin Tours. Some nights we have about 200 on this side of the beach. They've got a hard little life. You know, they're out there, the seals, the sharks and really whatever wants to eat them, and they come on the land and you've got the dogs, the feral cats and that. It's beautiful sitting up there watching them come over the big rocks. It's always something new, something interesting. They know I'm here, I think. They know I'm out here watching them.
You'll find hidden gems all over this magical island, and none more precious than the Promised Land, in the heart of Tasmania's beautiful Cradle Mountain and Lakes district. Here you can really lose yourself. No, really, in what is purportedly the world's largest maze, and then find yourself in the curious little village they call Lower Crackpot. You can even meet the mayor.
Now let's get it straight, fella. I am not the mayor.
You're not the mayor?
I am the Laird of Lower Crackpot, Chieftain of Clan Crackpot and Chief Magistrate Sheriff.
That explains the overalls.
All that stuff, yeah, and also chief worker. We have a mayor, it's a lady. Well, it's a fun village that we've put together so everyone can enjoy it. We've designed it so it's fun for all ages, from the young kids who love running around and knocking on doors and enjoying themselves, right up to the oldies who understand there's a lot of political and social comment in this place, and some of it's pretty close to the knuckle. We got a sleazy end of town, but up the other end there, the main business district just here, and beyond that, we're also a university town. We have several universities up there.
Wow.
Yeah, we cover it all.
Perfect.
Hello, welcome to Mount Noman Farm. This is Eliza and I'm Guy. Come in. You can nearly see all the mountains here. You've got Mount Noman, Mount Dial, and the Dial Range. The Dial Range gets its name because it's the shape of a sundial. The Wessex Saddleback, one of the reasons it's become really rare is it has a really rich layer of fat. For commercial pig production, that become too much, and the Wessex Saddleback nearly became extinct because it wasn't suited to fast growth and it had too much fat. It had a really, really sweet flavour though, and their temperament and everything like that makes them a beautiful pig. So northwest coast of Tasmania, where we've got a really good temperate climate, is ideal for pigs because they're relaxed, they don't get too hot, they don't get too cold, and they're just happy in being outside. In the middle of winter, when we get lots of rain, it can be challenging, but most of the year it's a perfect environment for keeping free-range outside pigs.
The welfare of our animals is really important to us at Mount Noman. We want the pigs to behave in the most natural way and for their life to be the least altered to how it should be. The pigs are raised completely outside and they're free to dig and play and behave like cheeky pigs.
We're very lucky here at the farm is we've got access to a large commercial smoke oven. So this is where we make our chorizo, our bacon, ham, and as we serve food here in our restaurant, we'll be able to do some really nice smoked products because we've considered it at whatever temperature, we can do a steam cycle, a smoke cycle.
Our oysters are cultured oysters, which means that they're nurtured by the farmer.
It's a passion. Farming oysters is all in or all out. You don't do it half and half. If you want to do it right, you've got to immerse yourself in it. And I think that's where Cass and I have brought it together, and it's a really good team. Our first date was to go and look at an oyster barge at Margate. I think it went quite well.
She was a beautiful boat.
There's just some of the most amazing scenery and things that you see on a daily basis from your workspace. It's always changing. That's what makes it the great place, and that's what's kept me here. I've got the best office in the world. I believe that when people come to our farm, the experience that they're having is an authentic one, a unique one. It's the rustic environment where they're having an amazing product. It's one of the best oysters they'll have in the world. Straight out of the sea. My name's Ian Melrose. I've been farming oysters for 35 years, I believe.
I'm Cassie Melrose. My ultimate dream is just to share the love of oysters.
Hi, I'm Robert. Welcome to Seafood Seduction. We're in for a great day. Coming aboard. I've been operating Bruny and Tasman Island cruises, which I'm best known for 16 years now. But we started Seafood Seduction because I came up to town to live, and it's what I've been doing since I've been a kid, being able to jump in and get abalone and crayfish and sea urchin, catching fish out of some of the most beautiful, pristine water in the world. What we do is come down the Derwent River, we head south. It's not long before we're on the shores of Bruny Island, where we visit a salmon farm, head down to Get Shucked Oyster Farm. Try saying that after a few drinks. There you'll be eating the freshest oyster that you can possibly get. And then we head down from there where I jump in and we get sea urchin. abalone. We'll have beautiful live lobster that you'll be able to see as well. And then we cook up a seafood storm, so I hope everyone loves seafood. You'll be able to eat the freshest possible that you could get anywhere in the world. It's the seafood equivalent of paddock plate. You just don't get fresher than that.
Like most of Tasmania, Wingrove is a land of contrasts that are as intriguing as they are inspiring. From the calm and tranquility of the Peace Garden to the waves from the Southern Ocean coming through the aptly named Storm Bay and Roaring Beach. From the smooth hand-carved hewn pine sculptures to the naturally formed 200 million year old dolerite stones. From the towering 6-metre hand-carved peace pole to the tiny Hakea bush flowers. Peter Adams, the patriarch of this amazing place, is a sculptor, artist, environmental writer, carpenter and furniture designer. He has drawn 30 years of inspiration from his natural surrounds to create some of the world's most stunning artworks and sculptures.
I bought the property Wingrove, 22 years ago. I came and within 2 seconds, I knew I could do something with this land. My first walk into a Tasmanian rainforest, I felt I was going back to where the dinosaurs were roaming. Stone, I just find archetypal, primitive, ancient. Wood, trees, basically 1,000 years old only. To try to marry those has been a focus of my work. What most inspires me to do the sculpture I do is to live in a place like Tasmania where the wind is raw, the sun burns, the waves crash, the cliffs are tall, the forests are ancient. It's like, what more does an artist need?
For the old, for the new, for the borrowed, for the loo, for the wild, for the name, for the ones who were ashamed, for the mums, for the dads, for the kids, for the lads, for the skies, for the seas, for the ones with weak knees, for the 4 eyes, for the 2 wheels, for the stories, for the steel, for the buildings. No, seriously, for the buildings. They too belong in the museum. Come along and visit the Queen Victoria Museum at Inveresk. Something for everyone.
There were actually 6 sheds, and we built a chook shed, which was the 7th shed. And when we were fishing around for an idea for a name for this business, 7 Sheds seemed fairly natural. My name's Willie Simpson, and I'm the co-owner of 7 Sheds. I read the definition of an artisan, and it said an artisan is someone who uses the best ingredients, a very slow, traditional production method to make a piddling amount of something that tastes bloody fantastic. And that's a pretty good definition of what we do at 7 Sheds. Rowton's sometimes described as a sleepy little hamlet. It's in the northwest Tasmanian region. We're part of a network of niche producers in this region, so it makes sense to use all sorts of local ingredients. People come to me and say, which is your favourite beer? And I say, well, come on, these are all my babies, I can't have favourites. We had a plan B in the early days, which was we'd drink all the beer ourselves if no one wanted to buy it. And luckily we didn't have that problem. The problem we had very early on was people were buying the beer and we're thinking, oh, right, okay, we better brew another batch. People come to visit 7 Sheds and they get a very clear sense of place of where we are, the fact that we're a family, we're making this beer on our property. And the minute you translate that production process to an anonymous warehouse somewhere, I think you've lost the sense of where you started from.
It's a very ancient landscape here and beautiful part of the world, unspoiled basically. And we fell in love with it. history of the place. It involves lots of very interesting people. Lachlan Macquarie, grandson of King George III, famous people including the British lawyer, Gamaliel Butler. We have been heavily involved in heritage conservation. We did archaeological work and we found numerous things from relics to bottles. It was apparent that the early people on the property enjoyed a drink or two. And we then decided, after meeting a distiller, that we should focus on the distillery here on the property. The Mackie whisky features the prime Tasmanian malted barley and our pristine waters. Our whisky has won the Best World Whisky Award, and that puts Mackie in the top 2% in the world, and also, of course, the only triple distilled whisky in Australia. People, when they visit here, they can have a tour and a tipple, and when they raise a glass of our whisky, they're helping to conserve a very significant and iconic early colonial Tasmanian property. My name is David Kernke. I'm the conserver and distiller at Sheen Estate and Distillery. It's a melding of passions, heritage and good whisky. It's liquid gold.
Ever been to a place where some of the oldest living things on Earth
make you feel pretty young?
Ever stood amongst giants?
Makes you feel small.
Ever seen architecture that hasn't come from a plan?
Found you by the old tree.
Ever floated your car across a river?
Welcome aboard.
We're away.
Ever walked a stairway to heaven?
Let's run away. I don't know where we are going to. Let's go far today.
Ever walked the streets of an old mining town and felt like you'd stepped back in time?
Hopefully we'll be seeing you soon.
Ever visited the home of endangered species and some of the rarest fauna and flora?
They're all here.
Ever tasted water so pure it's unlike anything you've ever tasted before?
You can.
Ever wondered what it's like at the edge of the world?
Wonder no more.
Ever been to the Tarkine?
Find us in the future. Something in your nature.
Tasmania is full of contradictions, none more so than the place they call Dismal Swamp. You'll soon find out why this world phenomenon is anything but. Your not so dismal tour starts here.
Hello and welcome to Tarkine Forest Adventures at Dismal Swamp.
Hold tight, you're now entering the Tarkine Forest Adventures Eco Tour near Tagari, northwest Tasmania. Turn left and you're walking on air along the cantilevered walkway suspended over treetops. Now follow the walkway down or take the exhilarating 110-metre slide to the swamp floor. Welcome to the bottom of the world's only blackwood sinkhole. Stroll along the myriad of timber walkways to discover this ancient environment through artworks interpreting the spirit of Dismal Swamp. Formed over thousands of years by dissolving dolomite, this 40-metre deep sinkhole is home to a unique forest habitat world bursting with life. You see, Dismal Swamp really is far from dismal after all.
Our cows get to make decisions. They are never ever closed into a paddock. They get to traverse up to the dairy whenever they wish. They get milk, they get a feed of grain and a back scratch, and then they go back out to a fresh parcel of land. Our cows are definitely the happiest cows in the world, and that's why we make the best cheddar. My interest in cheese making started when I was about 8. I used to mature the little cheeses that I made in my mum's bath, much to my mum's disgust. February 14th, 1992, we'd made the first batch of cheese. We'd gotten hold of my grandfather's recipe. I sold some cheese to a wholesaler and we won a gold medal. This was the start of our little dairy, winning awards all over Australia. Our tasting room looks out over the small valley of Pyengana, and with the seasonal variations of the natural topography, it's amazing some of the colours that we get to see through our little valley. My name's John Healy. I'm the General Manager of the Pyengana Dairy Company, and ever since I can remember, I've been in love with Pyengana cheese.
Sapphire is very special. We've been given an amazing property, an incredibly special location. When you first see a guest walk through those doors and they see that mountain range in the distance, it really is quite amazing. We're able to tailor what it is that you're looking for in your time here. Most people who come are looking for an experience very personal and very intimate. We have 100 very creative people who just really want to show off this area and this property. I'm very lucky to have the kitchen brigade that we do. We use the best produce that we can find in Tasmania, and of which there is no shortage. We're able to turn that into some amazing cuisine, and it's paired with some exceptional wines. Tasmania's got an amazing amount of variety in its wine, and we're able to really showcase that. Couple those two experiences together and you have a very special offering of food and beverage, and something that we're really proud of at Sapphire. We have more than 22 different types of inclusive activities.
The Wineglass Bay Lookout Walk is a really popular walk for all tourists. It's a really beautiful thing to be able to experience, to walk up and see the beautiful pink granite.
The view is certainly worth the walk.
It is notably one of the best beaches in the world. One of our signature experiences is the Freycinet Marine Farm Tour. We don some waders and walk through the water and learn a little bit about the life cycle of the Pacific oyster, which is farmed in southern Tasmania.
And finally, we get to taste some of Tasmania's finest.
So here at Sapphire we have a devil program. We take on some of the old, retired devils. They're helping them part of the science program to help combat what is known as the Tasmanian devil facial tumour disease. They're about 5 years old and it's really exciting to come up really close to them.
There is only 20 suites, so it never feels crowded. It's more about the attention to detail and the quality of the fittings within the suites.
The rooms are quite wonderful. They just nestle within the landscape, allows the landscape to come in and for you to just really feel at one with your surroundings.
Every single rate will include an amount of credit to use in the spa. The ability to be able to give that to every single guest that comes through the door is fantastic. People who may not usually have a spa will book because it's part of their package, and they'll love it, and it'll help them to relax even more. Ultimately at Sapphire, what we're trying to create are lifelong memories for our guests. It is a special experience, and it's one that we want you to cherish for a long time.
The East Coast was always the place you went for summer holidays or to get away. And now as I get a little bit older, I think I've developed a lot more of a relationship with the East Coast because of its wine. My name is Ben Milbourne. I'm a passionate food nerd and part-time wine lover. I've always had motorbikes, and for me the Great Eastern Drive is the reason why motorbikes were invented. The east coast of Tasmania is like a little microcosm of all of the exciting things that are happening in Tasmanian wine. There's a multitude of fantastic vineyards along the drive. Milton, Springvale, White Sands Estate, Darlington, Priory Ridge, Freycinet Vineyard, Gala Estate, and of course Devil's Corner, which has the most amazing view of the Hazards. I describe the East Coast as a place of 1 degree of separation, and there's always 1 degree of separation between you and the wine that you're after. And you can always find that 1 degree of separation here, whether it's through a winemaker or through a cellar door. You'll always know exactly what you're drinking, and I think that is the reason why people come to Tasmania, and that is why the people will love this drive.
So this is your job?
That's part of it, yeah.
My name is Hannah Gadsby, and I'm moving back home to Tasmania. After 20 years of living a glamorous and cosmopolitan life on the mainland, I'm done. I'm moving home. With some of the cleanest air and water on the planet, chefs and other fancy cooks are tripping over themselves for the opportunity to use our sweet harvests, because we've got everything. Even truffles. Who knew?
My name's Henry from Tasmanian Truffles, and we're conducting truffle hunts on our farm outside of Deloraine. You can come and see us with the dogs and hunt your own truffles and see what it's all about.
So they're basically fancy mushrooms.
Well, there's a bit more to them than that. They're kind of like mushrooms.
Is it dense? Is a good one dense?
Yeah. I mean, density's one thing. Size is important. Aroma's really important.
How would you describe the smell of a truffle?
It's really hard to explain, but people tell me all sorts of different things. You know, almonds, raspberries, oysters, seaweed, sex. Yeah, they do. Honestly, I get that every week. Oh, it smells like sex. I'm like,
Andy, sit on. Yummy.
The best thing to do to start with is you want to have a smell and see if it's ready to go.
You shitting me? You know, it just smells like dirt. There's nothing there.
I don't think there is.
What about you, Fergus? Sit on.
Ready, show me.
Is that a truffle?
Have a smell.
Oh, bit of sex over here.
Bit of sex. Oh, there you go. Well found.
Little nugget.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. It smells like just no one's visited for a while.
This is great advertising for us, isn't it?
It smells like loneliness, but with expectation. It's thrilling.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay, right, here we go. That's delicious. Doesn't taste like sex. I'd call that a good day. You know you're in Tasmania when someone asks you to get down on your knees and sniff the dirt, and it feels right.
I fell in love with Tasmania quite a while ago. We're very lucky to live in a beautiful Lackland Valley as part of the Derwent Valley of Tasmania, and the thing that attracted me to this place is just its beauty. I am of the great belief that people feel your energy that you put into a project, so both Severin and I put our heart and soul into the Agrarian Kitchen, and we've built it up from nothing. The Agrarian Kitchen was based on my own desire to get back to using ingredients as close to the origin as possible. The cook's only as good as the ingredients they're using. I've always been passionate about pigs, and pork's probably my favourite meat. I think naivety is always a positive thing when you go into something like this, and yeah, I reckon I've gone the whole hog. What I want to bring to them is flavour. So they get to pull carrots from the ground that actually smell like carrots. They get to eat meat that has been raised with every care taken on that animal, which ends up to be far tastier. They get to cook with fire. They get to just have a true agrarian experience from the earth to the plate. My name is Rodney Dunn, owner of the Agrarian Kitchen, Australia's first paddock-to-plate cooking school.
My name is Saru Briley, and I'm the author of A Long Way Home and the subject of the motion picture Lion, and Tasmania's my home.
How long were you on the train? A couple of days.
My first memory of Tasmania would have been just the blue water and the sun as well. You see this glitter on the surface of the water that just brightens everything up. I hadn't seen pristine beaches before. Like, I didn't even know that they existed. It's totally different to India, that's for sure. The food in Tasmania is just so fresh and clean. The seafood here, fresh straight out of the ocean, from tuna to crayfish to abalone, because I die for it. I just can't find that anywhere else. My favourite is seafood, hence why I go fishing a lot. I'm very lucky to live in Australia, but more so in Tasmania, because it's where my heart is.
Life is for living. I think that we should all enjoy our life as much as we can, because we're here for such a short time. My name is Lydia Nettlefold, and I'm the owner of the Red Feather Inn. Red Feather Inn was built in around about 1839. It's all convict built from a local sandstone quarry. When I bought this place, there was one toilet in the main building that the possum drank out. I actually wanted to have a place for people to stay in Tassie that was really nice, and I thought it would be a good thing for me to do. I felt as though I could offer people just a lovely place to stay, really. I want them to feel comfortable enough to just sort of hang out in the garden and relax. Once we restored it, we had this big space and we thought, well, what are we going to do with it? Because I'd already had a cooking school, we all decided that it'd be a great space, and that's how it happened. Our cooking classes are really designed to be entertainment, but at the end of the day, we want people to go away feeling that they've learnt something. Well, we try and source everything locally because there's so much great local produce. I really like the ethos of paddock to plate because, I mean, we've got it all here, and why wouldn't you do it? Well, the feeling I want people to have when they come and stay at the Red Feather Inn is mi casa su casa. My house is your house.
Our mother has brought us up to always think creatively, to respect the environment. A lot of our innovation has come from what can we create with our waste. I'm Ryan Hartshorn. I'm the creator of Hartshorn Distillery. I'm also part owner in Grandview Cheeses with my family. The first idea was to plant a vineyard and then have the sheep eat the grass in between the vines. However, the sheep decided to destroy the vines, so we had to make the choice, and sheep's milk was a lot more interesting than wines. I wanted to create something of my own, so I grasped the concept of making vodkas, and I wanted to bring it to Grandview, and I wanted it to be relevant to what we were doing. No one has done a sheep whey vodka in the world before. I've been quite chuffed with a lot of the responses, a lot of influential vodka drinkers that have said lovely things, which is nice. Grandview Cheeses is one of the few places in Australia where people can come and see the entire process of sheep's milk products. We make around about 8 different styles of cheeses. One of our most famous is our Sapphire Blue that got champion cheese of the Sydney Royal Show. I would never leave Tassie now. People don't realise the beauty that's here.
I'm born and bred Queenstown. 3rd generation now. Grandfather arrived around 1927 and started work in the Westline mine. My name's Anthony Colson, and if you want to see hydro, mining and natural adventures, come and see Queenstown Heritage Tours. We've got this rich history that we can experience firsthand by actually exploring these old lost mines. Our little business started in 2010 when I left the mining industry. We invented a new tour to take in what we called recreation at the time, which was old abandoned mines and ancient rainforest, and we decided to call it Lost Mines, Ancient Pines. I think it's the mix of mining heritage and world heritage all rolled into one, where you drive along a disused railway line from the 1890s and penetrate the World Heritage Area. That rainforest down there, people describe it as Middle Earth. It's the deepest you can go into World Heritage on wheels. It's well and truly off the grid. I've made it my life's interest, I guess, and it makes up who I am. Queenstown really has got that point of difference. It's had its own culture, it's had its own, it's been so isolated here. But look at all the wonderful things that happened here and are happening now.
Hi, I'm Kate Mooney. I'm the Wombat Lady of Flinders Island. I've always had a wombat, except for a period of 6 weeks in the last 20 years, so yeah, I've always got at least one. I first came here when I was about 13 and really liked the place. Came back again for a 2-week holiday when I was 20 and ended up staying, so lived here ever since. Flinders Island is really special because it's just so beautiful. Driving from Whitemark back to where I live, you come around the corner and there's this beautiful big bay, Marshall Bay, which is just magical. The blue water, the white sand, but even on filthy days you still get slapped with the wildness of the place, and the coastline is just so diverse. It's just, not many people there. If you see somebody's footprints in the sand, you just can go to another beach and there will be beaches without footprints. I've got 100 acres and the house is way off the road, so it's ideal for slow release of wombats. I can remember the first one, Batsky. A friend found and brought it up and said, "Do you want this?" And I thought, "I'll give it a go." I raised her till she was really quite big. She left on Christmas Eve and I had a present for under the Christmas tree and she never came home. It was very sad. The raising wombats, the aim is to have them return to the wild. So they do have to go, and you have to accept that they go. But I have always had others in the background. No, I don't get sick of doing it because they're fun.
We're on a walk, a magnificent 4-day walk on a very exquisite, remarkable island off the east coast of Tassie. We have an exclusive licence to operate 2 beautiful wilderness camps that are hidden in the forest behind glorious and remote beaches. We take small groups of just 10 guests and 2 delightful guides. Camps are elegantly designed and environmentally sensitive. So after a day's walking, our guests are spoiled with hot showers, comfortable beds and gourmet dining with fine Tasmanian wine. Moraa is also an island sanctuary for a variety of rare and unusual animals such as Cape Barren geese, Tasmanian devils and wombats. It really is an outstanding wildlife destination. The walking is easy. We walk on firm beaches and form tracks averaging about 2 kilometres an hour. So we have time to explore and to swim and to chat. Guests carry any light packs. We now even offer a special pack-free option on selected walks. Most of the walking is at sea level. There is also an option to climb 2 magnificent mountain peaks. The guides will explain the island's fascinating history and its world-rated fossil beds. On the third day we stay in charming Benaki House, which is situated in the World Heritage Convict Settlement of Darlington. And there we enjoy a final night's banquet prepared by our wonderful guides. The guides are simply fantastic. You'll love their personalities and their passion, and you'll love their stories and their cooking. Moraa Island has it all. The wildlife, the history, the tranquility and the beauty. And in the company of our guides, we think you would simply love it.
The Moraa Island Walk is a Tasmanian and family-owned and operated business. We take small groups of about 10 guests around the island with 2 guides for 4 days normally. It's a beautiful isolated island with a huge variety of environments. Each day you walk from one camp to the next. It's a journey essentially up the island. So you walk from one beautiful camp to the next. You get there and it's this beautiful little haven in the bush. You've got your own canvas huts which blend really well into the bush. Nothing more special than having an absolutely divine dinner in a pristine environment. The island it's really special because it's a real Noah's Ark for animals. This is incredibly unique. You've got this amazing environment with just so much wildlife here that is totally not stressed out by people. They don't mind people hanging around them because nobody's hurt them. And you can walk straight up to them and quite often they won't even move. At the same time as they do tolerate humans, they are most definitely still wild animals in a very natural place. Now these little penguins, they come up the rocks and they hide out in these beautiful crevices and these big granite boulders. And if you're lucky enough, you might even get a chance to see them, but you've got to know where to look. Because there's so many interesting things to look at, it makes the walk an absolute pleasure. It's never boring. So each day there's options of how far you want to walk. You can walk anywhere from 20 kilometres during the 4 days up to 50, 60 kilometres if you feel like it. There's also fantastic and numerous opportunities just to chill out and enjoy the tranquility here. So after 3 days of walking through the beautiful wilderness, we finally reach Benaki House, which is an incredibly well-restored World Heritage listed house. The Benaki House has been refurbished to resemble its period. A really great way to finish the walk in a little bit more luxury. The guides are really professional here. They have an incredible depth of knowledge on all aspects of the island, so the bird life, the history, the geography, the geology. They're really professional. All in all, it's a really well-run adventure. We've won a host of state and national awards. If you come to Moraa Island with us, we'll be able to show you all the secrets to this absolutely stunning place.
Maria Island's off the east coast of Tasmania. It's about an hour from Hobart to the little fishing village of Triabunna. Then it's about a 30-minute trip across Mercury Passage to this beautiful island. The whole island is a national park, World Heritage listed, has a population of just 2 park rangers and their 2 cars. It's got mountains up to 2,000 feet or 700 metres. Got beautiful old ancient blue gum forests, and it's also got beautiful beaches, and it's got a sense of tranquility because really there's no one else on the island apart from us. So Maria is described as the Noah's Ark for Tasmania. When it became a national park 40 years ago, the Parks and Wildlife Service introduced a whole lot of rare and endangered animals, most of them not found outside of Tasmania. The animals are totally unafraid because it's an island sanctuary. People, when they come over here, are just charmed when they see animals that you normally don't see outside of Tasmania. To be able to walk up around amongst the animals is just an absolute joy for people. They've now introduced Tasmanian devils, many wombats. Maria is probably one of the best places in Australia to see wombats. They're everywhere. There's also all the native birds of Tasmania, all the endemics. There's also a Cape Barren goose. It honks like a pig, beautiful big regal bird, stands about 1 metre tall, and they're all over the island as well. So it's a fabulous place for viewing wildlife, especially animals found only in Tasmania. So I started the Maria Island Walk in 2002. I'd been an engineer working around the world and around Australia before that. Fell in love with Tasmania. I've always been an outdoorsy person, and so I approached the government and set up the business on Maria Island. We explore the island over 4 days. We have small groups of just 10 guests and 2 guides, highly intimate and personalised. The people who enjoy our beautiful walk, people that generally want an active holiday, they want to learn, to see animals, to learn about the culture and the history of an area that they haven't visited before. And that's why Maria is so beautiful for that, because we have the history and we have the wildlife, and we walk the length of the island, taking in all the highlights and all the secrets of the island. There's a strong Indigenous connection with the island. The Tirradine people lived here for 20,000 years, and then had all the various explorations, so many stories to tell, and really it's a microcosm of the whole of the Australian colonial era. It's an immersive experience, so we take time to look at the wildlife, to look at the history, and to really take in all the charms and the hidden wonders of this beautiful island. Our guides are the local experts. They know the island really well, and they really bring the island to life. I'm really proud that we're a family-owned business. We offer a bit of good old-fashioned friendliness, hospitality and service. The guides have a passion and an enthusiasm which really becomes infectious. If they weren't doing it for pay, they'd often be out in the wilderness, climbing mountains, rock climbing, bushwalking, sea kayaking. So really it's a natural extension of the things they love. They're proud to be Tasmanian and they just love the outdoors. And over 4 days, our guests really tend to adore and really appreciate our guides. They appreciate their passion and their warmth, their hard work, and they're really a large part of the whole experience. We've contributed and continue to contribute with the revegetation of the island in areas that have been overgrazed in the past. Our camps have been designed so they've got a very small footprint. We produce our own electricity from solar. We respect the earth that we walk on. We respect the culture and history of the island. There's something romantic about coming to an uninhabited island with the history and the wildlife, the tranquility. It really is very special. There's not many places like this, and it's one of the best kept secrets in Australia. We often ask ourselves, is there a better place on earth to spend 4 days? We think probably not.
Of course, the scenery in the Cradle Mountain area is breathtaking to say the least. However, when you look a little closer, you'll discover so much more. From feeding the devils by night, to walking the winding trails by day, from the quirky art to the lovable locals. To the extraordinary pioneers who carved their legacy through this magical land. Oh, did we mention relaxing in our luxurious spa at Cradle Mountain Lodge on the edge of Tasmania's World Heritage National Park? Yep, that's not bad either.
Lunch. Sourced minutes ago. By Tom, your friendly fisherman, chef and waiter.
Firstclass.travel presents Sapphire, Freycinet.
Well, I got interested in boats. I was always interested in water. Can't swim, never could. You don't need to swim if the boat's going properly. My name is Francis Ransley. I live in Wynyard, Tasmania. You don't get to do 140 mile an hour in a hydroplane without having a fairly good workshop to do it. The very first restoration I ever did was a motorbike. I always wanted a T-model Ford, and I started off with the front axle. I thought, that's a fine axle. All I need is the rest of the car. After the T-model, I got interested in the older stuff, and I started getting cars that were like the N-model Ford was the first of the early ones. One day, a tour bus turned up, and an uncle of mine got out and said, I'm with a bowling group, and the bowls are washed out. Can I show them through your collection, Francis? Because I'm not interested in doing that. I offered them to the council for tourism to bring people into Wynyard. It's the only veteran collection in Australia that's pre-1918, the very early stuff. Most museums have one or two cars. You can see a line of them here. The Ransley collection. If you ask what it's worth, $10 more than you got.
My name is Mark Tregonning. I'm a driver of the West Coast Wilderness Railway here in Queenstown in Tasmania. The railway is more commonly known in Australia as the Apt Railway. It is in fact the only remaining Apt railway in this country, and it has been rebuilt over the last 13 years. The initial trains, I believe, ran in 1895. The Apt system was developed subsequently in 1896. In fact, this locomotive behind me is number 1. It was the original loco from 1896. The Apt Railway is undoubtedly one of the most scenic that I've ever seen or experienced, and from a driver's point of view, it would be some of the most challenging driving, locomotive driving anywhere. The Mount Lyell Railway originally established this railway from Tipekana on the King River. The railway fluctuated with the fortunes of the mine for the next 50 to 60 years. And in the early 1960s, as road and road transport improved, the decision was taken to retire the railway. The railway was closed, much to everyone's disappointment. Ceremonial last trains run in 1963. The locomotives and original carriages were scattered to museums and societies around Australia for safekeeping. Some remained here on display on the West Coast, and Australia quietly forgot that we ever had the Mount Lyell Railway. However, there were some people that remained loyal and wanted to see the railway recreated. The experience for the passenger is, it's unique to be tilted back in your carriage as if you're taking off in an aircraft. Nothing's quite the same, and all of this is being hauled by a 19th century piece of technology. We've had drivers visit from other railways, including those hauling some of the biggest tonnages in the world. And each man has gone white when we've taken them over the brow out of Rhinadina down the first steep stretch. We know it locally as the escalator. The environment is fairly treacherous in the way of rock falls and tree falls, even tornadoes. For those that enjoy hard-working steam locos in creative parts of the world, come and see us. Come and ride our train on the West Coast Wilderness Railway.
You'll own the beach. You'll mingle with mollusks. You'll breathe clean air. You'll stop. You'll be inspired. You'll strain your neck. You'll block your ears. You'll stay here a bit too long. You'll dream. And when it's time to go home, you'll hide.